Here with the M2, getting ready for its first track event coming up very shortly. Super excited about that. But before we dive in, got a few things that we need to hit maintenance-wise, as well as a couple little performance things that we're going to toss on this. That means redline fluids, getting rid of that B&W fluid that's in there. They got 0W30 in there right now, which is also a Group 3 oil. We want to get our redline Group 4, 5W30 in there for that additional protection because we're going to abuse this thing on track. Going to go ahead and do diff fluid 2, 75-140. We got redline D6 ATF for the trans. Going to hit the brake fluid, got some RL600 for that. The brake fluid in these cars uses a low viscosity fluid as a baseline stock, but while the redline fluid is not a low viscosity fluid, I discussed this with the guys at Redline, and that low viscosity is really only for super low temperature applications, and once it gets in its appropriate operating range, there's no massive difference, so no issue with running a regular track brake fluid in a low viscosity type car. Some other fun things we're going to do, we've got some new ground control camber plates, we've got this can-checked vent gauge we're going to get into installing that thing, and of course going to add a Solo 2 DL for some data along the way so we can keep track of lap times and all this stuff. These camber plates, pretty excited about these things. They are also caster adjustable, but going to get these thrown in there. But we actually are going to leave this thing in a stock camber configuration to start with. The reason for that is we want to put this thing on track in a baseline showroom stock condition. Yes, I know that changing the camber plates is not stock, but we're going to make the alignment stock. I'm curious what the alignment was. He measured camber before he put this thing up, so we know that we can put it back into stock camber configuration. Then it'll be easier to adjust versus having to install camber plates at the track for an afternoon session, because our plan is going to be to add camber for the afternoon. So if we go ahead and install them now, set it stock alignment, and then just knock a little camber in for the afternoon session, that'll be way easier. What do I got? I got 1.6 left front, 1.4 right front, 1.8 left rear, 1.6 right rear. So we will make sure that we get the camber set back to that. We got a couple other things we're going to test. We've also got PFC brake pads we're going to do in the afternoon session. We've got Hoosier R7s that we're going to throw on this thing for the afternoon session. So kind of a, what's a quick bolt-on way to go faster. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. Getting this baby all prepped so we can get these beautiful, fresh, new ground control camber plates on this thing and be able to dial out a little bit of understeer, as we know camber plates are magical for helping get that front camber on these McPherson strut type cars to help improve that front end grip by increasing that contact patch when loaded up. So, all right, Rich is going to keep trucking on, get these camber plates on, and we'll follow up with whatever we do next. Another thing I asked Rich to do throughout this process is to see what the max negative camber we could get with all the stock arms and everything on this. And it looks like we can get right at to where the stock camber setting is, and then can go up to minus 3.5 degrees negative camber. Minus negative? Is that a double negative? I don't know. I feel pretty solid on being able to get that much, and then that's at stock ride height. So when we lower it, we know that these cars typically camber in a little bit as well. So by the time we get a proper suspension on this thing, get the stock dampers off, get this thing a little bit lower, I think we'll be sitting pretty good on the negative camber that we can reach. Working on can checked install now. We got got to remove this kick panel, remove this little kick panel under the dash, the big massive screen, and that will then give you access to this area right here. So what are the next steps? 4 connections: power, ground, can high, can low, routes through here, you fish it down back there behind the dash, runs over here, pop that out of place, this run along back here behind the vents, power and data for the gauge. All right, what do we got with this thing? Load file. So it connects to your laptop via USB cable. Now let's see what some of this looks like actually in action.
3 hours later.
Other things we got to get done on this before going to the track next week? Well, got to get the tires mounted, got to get the solo wired up and working properly, and then it's almost time to go rip this baby. More things coming right now. Getting these Hoosiers mounted up on some TA55 wheels. Getting ready to take the G87 to the track for the first time. One of our test plan pieces is to run these Hoosier R7s on that bad boy and see how it does. Really, really looking forward to it. Man, those TA55s be looking good. R7s, we got 265, 35, 19s up front, and then we're going to do a staggered setup and do a 295, 30R19 in the rear. Looking forward to seeing how this goes. Getting a little test fit action on the wheels and tires before we go to the track. Make sure everything fits nice and snug. She's riding a little high. We'll take care of that later. But for this test, these wheels are looking good on this thing. Just imagine a little bit lower. Looking forward to seeing how these Hoosiers and these TA55s do on track. Let's do it. Well, we made it to VIR finally with the G87. I dragged James out here to do a little testing with me. I don't know, have a little fun with this thing. So we're gonna take the G87 out for its first session here in just a few. He's gonna give me a little ride so that I can try to figure out what he's doing in this, and maybe I can pick up on some things. But yeah, we're gonna have some fun with this thing today, right?
Yeah, it's taking a purely stock car. Now it's not exactly stock right now. We've added some electronics.
Yep.
What you got?
We've got the can checked vent gauge system, which is pretty awesome just to have some data. We got a Solo 2 in there also because critical to have the data. No point going testing if you don't have some data to look back on. So
right. I think other than that, it is stock right now. We do have ground control camber plates on it because we're going to add camber later, but right now we've stood it up and it's in stock configuration within 1/10 of a degree. So
yeah, stock configuration like 1.6, so not a ton of camber stock.
Yeah, and of course the strut car doesn't have camber gain, so it's going to be important to get some camber in this thing just to save the tires. But we're going to run it stock first, stock tires, stock pads, everything stock. Then I think it's some camber. I think it's some brake pads from PFC that we've got coming in.
Yeah, we got some PFC 331, 332 pads we're going to put on this thing. We also then are going to throw on some Hoosier R7s and kind of give a little baseline of what are some simple things that a lot of our customers will throw on this thing just to see what kind of changes that makes, how it improves the car.
Just to get it out to the racetrack. And of course, those Hoosier tires, which I love a new set of Hoosiers. This is going to be awesome on the brand new BimmerWorld TA55 wheels, which those things are pretty sweet. They're gold. So
we got the trophy gold on there. It's looking awesome.
So looking forward to ripping this thing around today and seeing what a stock car does before we really dig into it and make it really awesome.
Yeah, this is gonna be an exciting baseline day. A little warm, but looking forward to having a fun, sunny day. wiggly under braking?
Minimal. Almost like more at the tail end as you start to really bend it into the turn. I'm definitely not pushing the brakes hard, and just that smell of the off gas makes me not have ultimate faith.
I almost feel like you got done what you needed to get done just now.
I think so. So that was a 207 flat.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes faster. It goes faster if I push it harder. So, you know, maybe we'll come into the pits, you get some laps, and then we'll try to do like a real burn it. You know, part of driving the car fast is having the confidence to drive the car fast. And right now I don't have ultimate confidence in the brake pads.
Yep.
And I don't necessarily have confidence in the suspension. Like, I mean, it's good, but
You can, and the S's, it feels like, whoa.
a lot of movement.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, like, how hard do we need to push right now? You know, I definitely pushed to my comfort level. The question is, do I increase my comfort level with this bone stock car?
Okay.
Maybe. We're like 29s all around on brake, or I'm sorry, on tire pressure.
Okay.
So that's reasonable. Crazy on the outlap, we're going over 100 through the uphill S's, which not blazingly fast, but when I first started driving VIR, that was like race car top speed. That was fun. Bill and I are going to switch seats. It's a bone stock car, which also means stock brakes, and driving to a level of confidence that a stock brake pad that smells like brake pad would give you. So that was 207 flat. I think it's faster for sure. It's a 6 flat or into the 5s. But do I want to push it that hard on the first day? I don't really know. I don't know that I feel confident in specifically the brake pads to do it. I wasn't pushing brake zones at all. I was like 100 short. So anyway, Bill's gonna give it a rip.
And the back for a race car. First
My
call
gauge says
for race
31 left, 30 right.
Okay.
In 10 minutes. Race car safe.
Good?
Yep. do you think?
It's pushy, it's big, it's heavy. I'm trying to hold myself up. I mean, it felt pretty good. It's definitely soft. I don't know. I'm definitely not comfortable in it fully.
Say again?
I'm definitely not comfortable in it fully. What did I do here?
You got on the throttle early, you ended up way over here,
Yep.
and then so there's other places around the track, but that was the best example.
Okay. I kept feeling like I wanted to pick up throttle to get it to rotate, but it just would push a bit.
Yep.
And wouldn't. It's definitely not a Spec E46.
No. I would get a time in the race group, and I don't know, it's up to you on that. I'd like to look at data with you.
Do you want to look at data now? Or
I'd like to turn a lap in race group. You're in park division. I'd like to turn a lap in race group. It's up to you whether you do want to.
okay. I just got 3 laps in, got a little coaching from James, just a little feedback on what I'm doing. I am trying to dance with the throttle a little bit too much. This big, heavy car needs to I need to let the car work through the corner a little bit. I'm trying to get to the gas a little bit too early, and then it's pushing me out. So I had a 208, low 208, I think. So I'll take that for just having 3 laps in the car. James did a 207 in his three laps or so. So, all right, not crazy far off pace, but fortunately had James in the car, so he gave me some feedback. He's going out to go do a push lap, then going to come back in. I may do a lap, then we'll look at some data and see where we can go from there. What'd you get?
5.8.
Nice.
Yeah.
James got more laps than me, and he didn't have a passenger, so he went faster.
Phil's got his race game on. He's already making excuses. No, but it's not about that. We shook out the car, and then you know, to some degree, I'm aware that I've got brake pads that are pure street stock pads that I smell every time I hit the brakes, and that we've got tires that are expensive street tires that I don't necessarily want to bang up. I sure do wish I had a good 200 tread wear on the car.
Huh, good 200 tread would be pretty nice.
Yeah, well.
James always about beating up stock tires, always, always.
Not when I also have to drive on these on the street, so
Yeah,
no.
valid.
So, but that's nuts. So in pure stock configuration, again, we've got those camber plates on it, but they are in stock configuration. So this is a pure stock car right now as far as performance goes. 205.8, and I got traffic on the back straight, and I think that would have been a mid-low 5. That's nuts.
That's pretty bone stock car. That's impressive.
Bone stock, and that's as fast as in the early 2000s. The fastest class of BMW Club Racing was going in race cars. So, in a pure stock car.
Cars have evolved a little bit.
So this thing has crazy potential. It didn't make heat. That's really good. It's going to get hotter today, so we're going to see how that pans out. But you know, I'm kind of feeling like we need to start throwing parts at this thing, and that's not you know, that's not a marketing thing. But the reality of it is, I'm not comfortable with the brake pads. I'd like more pad in there, and I'd like to feel it and know it's not going to fade. So inner PFC, and then I mean, we got those ground control camber plates. We can add some camber, but to some degree, I mean, I know that's going to work. I know these cars beat up the outside edge of the front tire, but do I need to beat on a street tire to prove that and show a wear pattern? I mean, I think it's just a given, and I don't feel like that's a requirement. So I'm kind of like, let's move along with the program, whatever that is, and maybe the next step is go ahead and give the camber it needs.
I'm good with that.
And put the brake pads in that we want.
Yeah.
So we can stop the car, we don't beat up our tires, and then we'll save those sticky Hoosiers for later, and we'll really see what this car can do.
Yeah, definitely brake pads. You know, as James mentioned, confidence breeds speed, and yeah, the pads are going to help out with that tremendously, I think.
Yeah. But as it sits, amazing car. So let's make it better.
Absolutely.
So we've got more camber, which is going to be good for tire wear, and probably some grip as well, as we use more effective use of the contact pads. But probably the biggest thing is the change to a PFC brake pad. We're on redline brake fluid, so even with the stock pads, we weren't really having any fade necessarily, but it was concerning the amount of outgassing the pads, even after they were fully bedded, had. So we've got a true racing brake pad. I like to be in a car that stops when I'm on the racetrack, so that's one of those confidence things that's gonna, I think the speed is gonna come. Sure, braking performance, of course you're always tire limited on brakes. You know, they don't stop the car, they stop the tire. But I think the biggest thing is the confidence under braking and knowing that I've got a racing brake pad that's not going to overheat or give up. So we'll see what we got with this.
So it's not faster.
Okay.
But you know, we had that little short bit before they threw the black flag, and the track is definitely greasier, so there's that. Like turn 1 is greasy.
Okay.
So
So really patient.
what's that? Yeah, be
So
really,
really
patient.
patient.
So PFC pads, race ready, awesome. So they're ready to go from the beginning of the out lap initially. So no screwing around with that. That's nice. Certainly the brakes are now confidence inspiring. I have more brake than tire, so you know it's not brake pad limited, and I'm comfortable with the brake pads, and it's repeatable, but it's definitely tire and grip limited.
Okay.
Front and rear, so braking and power down, and
So pads confidence from knowing they're there, not smelling them the same way, but you still don't have much more braking performance just
Yeah.
due to.
the brakes now just work. There's no question mark or footnote or whatever. The brakes work, but it's hot and the tires are showing their limits. So
That was way better for me. Took a few of the things that James told me, showed me, and yeah, put them to use, and now sort of exacerbated into some other things where he wanted me to be more patient getting to the gas, but also better on releasing the brake. The two are kind of going hand in hand. So it's showing by being patient to get back to the gas, I'm having to be much smoother on the release of the brake, as I'm trying to be more patient overall. I had a couple decent times brewing, but a little bit of traffic, but still 207.4 it looks like, but I think I had a mid 206 in the mix. So we'll look at some data and see where I'm off from James.
Well,
All right, that's a little bit of a different animal now. It's hot.
yeah, it's a little spicy out here.
It's a little spicy. Spicy, but all the temps are staying wildly in check. You know, we got all the red line fluids in this thing. We know it's protected with that 530 engine oil. D6 ATF keeping the trans cool. Man, those Hoosiers make this thing come alive.
Yeah, right?
Oh man, classic racer excuse. 203.3 on my end lap. But then the checker, like I was cooking. I was starting to feel it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So yeah, that I gained some confidence in this thing today. Thanks to the boss man for helping me out. But yeah, that was a blast.
Yeah, Hoosiers work, and the Hoosiers make the brake pads work.
Right. I mean, I was working on compressing. It was like, oh, I keep having more. Like there was still more in there from what I was doing. Felt super stable under braking. I mean, out of the box, that really woke the car up.
Yeah, so still a very stock car. Red line fluids for the protection. We're going to pound on this thing a lot, so we need that. It's got now our TA55 wheels and some Hoosier tires, camber plates from ground control. Otherwise, it's stock. So stock with a 203 flat.
Oh
yeah.
Pads.
Brake pads.
Brake pads.
PFC brake pads.
Yeah, I mean, the first session when you're smelling those brake pads in the morning, it was, we talked about it. It's not confidence inspiring.
Yeah.
Definitely have a lot more confidence in it now.
Yeah. So awesome car. 203 flat is the baseline. And on a day that's, 90 degrees and super greasy on track temp. I heard 130 track temp. So
Feels it.
yeah. So see where we go from here. But certainly sub 2 is going to be pretty easy. So we'll see how far we want to go while still keeping this thing a street car. I don't really know what your plans are with the car, but
I don't even know what my plan is for it yet either, but we're going to figure it out. Obviously, we're going to spice it up a little bit. We got a few more things to go through, but for a baseline test, I think today was super successful, and this thing is crazy capable out of the box.
So next round, MCS suspension, sub 2?
No, next round is actually going to be a ground control height adjustable kit to get it a little bit lower, add a little bit of spring rate, still use the stock dampers, still use the stock EDC dampers, see what that does, and then we're going to jump to the MCS dampers and see what we got.
Copy that. Yeah, it's got 1.5 inches, 2 inches, 2.5 of fender gap. It's amazing out of the box, and we're going to make it more amazing. So, nice work today.
Yeah, I think that was an awesome day. Good day hanging out with James and hanging out with some buddies in the paddock, and looking forward to doing some more of this with this thing.
And hanging out with Richard and Kevin. We like those guys.
Thanks to Rich for handling some of the changes and setup stuff, getting the camber and toe back in order after we made a change, and handling the brake pad change while the brakes were not exactly cool. So,
right.
Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Burrito temperature.
All right, follow along for more. We're going to keep doing this.
Absolutely. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, leave us a comment. Back at home base, looking at a little bit of data, going to go through a quick progression of what we did throughout the test day. You know, that first session where it was totally bone stock, I went for a ride with James so I could get familiar. Then James went for a ride with me so he could help me make some improvements throughout the day. And James's baseline initially, just a few laps in, was a 207.0. And then I went out and did a 208.1, and you can kind of see where he just has a little bit more confidence in some areas, especially up here in the S's, especially over here in the hog pen area. But then James went out and did a push lap in that stock configuration, and he was able to get a 205.8, totally stock tires, stock brakes, stock everything, except those camber plates that were in stock alignment, which really is pretty impressive. 205.8 for a totally stock car. And then we added the camber to the car, and we added the PFC pads, and James actually went a hair slower, but the track really started going away at that point. It was brutally hot, so track got a little bit slick from that first morning session where it was feeling really good. The big thing here, even though it was a hair slower track conditions, you can see right over here, James felt that confidence in those PFC brakes to really start actually hammering on them versus, I don't know how I feel. You know, we talked about the confidence deal. I don't know how I feel with those stock pads. So gave himself some room before. And then after he got those PFC pads on, felt really good about actually diving into the brake zone quite a bit more. Still was overpowering the tires a bit. And what did I do in that session? I did a 207.4. So I was second and a half almost off of James from that session. You know, he pushed it in the brake zone a little bit more here. I am not quite pushing it in the S's the same way, and then some other little areas throughout where he just carries a little bit more speed. But I went faster because I took some of those notes from James of my itchy right foot and be a little bit more patient and drive this car a little bit more point and shoot, and made some pretty big improvements on how I was feeling in the car during that session. Then we get to the Hoosiers, and James put down, where is that thing? A 203.02. Now let's compare that to, where's his 205.8? To that 205.8 of baseline stock trim, and you can kind of see he's able to roll more speed everywhere, feel more confident everywhere, feel more confident in the brakes, especially over here, feel more confident in the S's and carry a lot more speed. And well, those Hoosiers were pretty magic in making the car feel amazing. So what did I do that last session? I did a 204.1, which you can see James deeper into the brakes into one, kind of just more speed throughout, good chunk more speed in the S's, committing to the brakes later in the big final brake zone on the back straight. But this is where that asterisk comes into play, as I was really starting to build my confidence in the car. Actually had to come in and stop to get some fuel in the car midway through the session. We were seeing how it would do on low fuel, and then go back out, and I had a very limited time to get my lap in, and I was on a burner of a lap. I had a 203.3 on the predictive when I came in and came around 12, and they were checkered. So I looked at the best rolling lap time, and I had a 203.22, which also then made me go look at what was James's best rolling lap time, which is the best continuous lap, not best theoretical, best continuous lap from any start-stop point on the track. And James had a 202.77. So with that, a 202.77 in a totally stock configuration car with just some Hoosiers, pads, and camber plates, that is a fast car out of the gates, and really looking forward to seeing what we do with this. And also, I'm a little happier that my lap time difference versus James in that rolling lap configuration is only about a half second off. So pretty tight gap there. I would consider a tight gap for my level of driving to James, and looking forward to seeing where we go with this project and how we progress and see those lap times continue to drop as we add more stuff on.
Ready to go?
Should be an awesome race weekend.
We are ready to kill it this year.
It's good. It's good.
It's going to be a wild ride.